Thank you for being with me. I'm meteorologist Brian Shields. I do apologize for the setup today and over the next few days traveling with my family. All right, let's get right to this. We're watching the storm system that is going to move in. Back-to-back storm systems on the way, right? We're in monitor mode. Now, what that means is we don't have to take great action. I like to keep things in perspective. This channel is not about hype. It's about getting out the correct information in early. We picked up on the system together very early on. Monitor mode, with that said, in this area, it's a good idea just to spread the word about this system coming in, and there is some action to take. We're going to have some winds gusting to about 70 miles per hour, 110 kilometers an hour for some of us, not for all of us in this region. But with that, you need to be mindful. What am I going to do if we're without power? And my concern is in a situation like this, and we've seen bigger storms. This one will pack a bit of a punch, but we've seen bigger ones. With that said, anytime you get tree branches falling in spots, that's always a concern. If they're falling near your homes, no doubt. So thinking about that sort of thing as we go forward, but in monitor mode now as this area goes in. So I appreciate you sharing this information. It's this spot right here coming off of Newfoundland in the Avalon Peninsula, eastern region of Canada. That's what's headed our way. And sometimes patterns get stuck. That's exactly what's going to happen. A lot of moisture is it's amazing how the weather is tied together, right? Region to region. There's a lot of weather building in the southeast United States back through Bermuda the next few days. And that energy is going to continue to pump our way. So we could have back-to-back storm systems that I'll be monitoring for us as we go forward. Now, here's the broad outlook. Then I want to zoom down and get very specific, so thank you for your patience. This spin by Iceland is not the main system. It's this one back here, and I don't want to lose sight of some of the heavier weather. I'll zoom down to this. We had a water spout offshore of Italy earlier this morning, so some heavier weather out ahead of it. Never take your eye off the ball when it comes to weather. There's a lot going on. Now, as we work our way into tomorrow, much of the day tomorrow across Ireland, Northern Ireland, we're okay. We're going to get the feel, though, that something is coming our way. It's this system that really works in late tomorrow into tomorrow night, and that's what's going to press across. And again, I'm going to zoom down with some of the impacts that we're going to feel. Here's the system. By the time we get into Monday, the center of it sitting right over Scotland and pushing off toward the east, and it will continue to move to the east. Heavier weather back through the North Sea. And that'll continue to slide its way here as we work our way to Norway, watching over toward, say, Denmark. Even the Netherlands, we're going to get some heavier winds at times. But then this area of low pressure on Tuesday sitting right over Sweden. So we'll see some rain, parts of Finland, Norway, Sweden, gusty winds. And then watching right across the sea for those seas building. Estonia, Latvia, over toward Lithuania, northern Poland. Those seas will be building in. I want to show you those wave heights as well. And then the second system back behind it that will eventually be pressing our way. Now, here's a look at the European model, and you can see here are the storms today. So just to orient you, Italy, Portugal, we get over towards Spain, back through France, so monitoring some areas of rain and storms, right? But the main player is back toward our west for another day. But as we work our way into tomorrow, this is our Sunday, it starts to press in. Now, the European model and the American model, very close. The European model, maybe just a touch slower. You see it back here, Ireland, Northern Ireland, to get over toward Wales and England, here's Scotland, but very close. Sometimes they could be showing some differences, big differences in the tracks. Not so much to make a big deal of, but you can see here, then the spin really wraps up. By wraps up, I mean strengthens as we work our way into Monday. So as far as the winds go in Northern Ireland, it'll be really dependent on how quickly this strengthens, but all of us are going to get those gusty winds across the British Isles, but that core over towards Scotland, which I'll show you, that's where we could get some of those stronger winds. And then this system from Monday into Tuesday progresses right across, and you could see how it is very similar to the American model. And note that I don't just look at models. I've been doing this for decades. I look at really what's going on in the environment. The models can be so off in many cases, but they are a great guide. But then this spin will be sitting over Norway and Sweden. This is trying to show kind of a secondary low, two areas of low pressure, but that's not a big deal either. Try to keep some of the signs out of this. Watching out for some of the gusty winds Tuesday into Wednesday. Here's Wednesday. Then as this system slides its way toward Finland, we'll be watching out for the next system. What is the next system going to do? Looks like that here's this system, but in still those stronger winds. But the next system looks like it may track a little bit more to the north, kind of swing up, splitting the British Isles and Iceland. So we'll wait and see. Not necessarily the exact same track, and hopefully a little bit weaker. We'll see on that. I'll be tracking that for you as we go through the upcoming week. Let's start with some zoom down looks. I want to take you around. All countries matter. We'll go country by country here, watching over toward Ireland, Northern Ireland, Scotland, England, Wales. Here we go as we work our way into later on Sunday. Deeper into Sunday, we'll start to get some of the rain picking up, but this is the area, and you can see not super organized right now, but look what happens Sunday night. Then it starts to wrap up, then it starts to get stronger. Area of low pressure sitting right in here, just approaching Scotland. It is going to be a fine line between some of the heavier rain and not so much rain at all. There is no doubt some spots, say maybe over toward Falmouth and Plymouth, aside from the seas and the gusty winds, will be like, where the heck is the rain in this? A lot of it may be to the north, but this will trek right across Scotland. But all of us getting those gusty winds, even watching over toward France. Heads up as you get across the channels, no doubt. Those seas are going to be really building. And I mentioned over toward Belgium, the Netherlands, gusty winds at times, while most of the energy is just to the north. Gusty winds sweeping across even on Monday, right across the British Isles. And as we work our way back through Germany, we'll know something's around, right? Gusty winds, northern tier, not as much southern sections. And then by Tuesday, this area lifting up right across Denmark with those higher seas and those gusty winds. I'll show you the seas, the winds, the wave heights, a lot to cover in this video. So let's go forward in time. This here is later today, broader picture to show you Norway, Sweden, Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Belarus, Poland, Germany. We get back through the Netherlands, Belgium. Do my best not to leave anyone out. This is Sunday. Here comes the system pulling back toward Ireland here, watching out for some scattered areas of rain out ahead of it, keeping an eye on that. But it's this player here. This is what sweeps in. Just showed you that back through the British Isles. So let's get into a Monday here. This is Monday by 2 o'clock. Now, this is where the area of low pressure will be leaving Scotland. Very heavy rain, but there are some of the rain areas, Norway back through Denmark and the Netherlands, Belgium, most to the north, but those gusty winds kind of scraping by northern Germany, northern Poland. And then by the time we get into Tuesday, the area of low pressure sitting right over Sweden, and you can see the strong winds and some heavier rain behind it. Rain total is not super high for most of us, but this pocket here with this fetch coming off the water, that could lead to heavier rain. Heads up, eastern Norway, we may end up with some of the biggest rain totals out of this just because of that fetch coming in off of the ocean and then pulling forward as we work our way into Wednesday. Still dealing with this spin around Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, strong winds across the sea. And then as we work our way back here, here is the next system rolling in. This may pivot a little bit more to the north. We'll monitor that as we get into Wednesday and Thursday, and I'll be fine-tuning that step by step as we go forward. Busy week, busy pattern, we know. So we'll just go step by step on this channel. Now let's get into the winds. Here we go on Sunday of kilometers an hour, miles per hour. I know some of us are meters per second. There's a lot of units out there. Just note where you see the white shading. That's where the winds could knock down tree branches, right? That's where we're looking at gusts. These are gusts of about 50 miles per hour. So this will start a little spin, really starts to develop late Sunday night. That's when it starts to get stronger Sunday night. And then the spin, the core right in here, that's where it pushes in, lifting up near Northern Ireland, and then moving back toward Scotland. And you can see those the strong onshore winds, gust of 50 miles per hour or about 80 kilometers an hour, and then scooting right up the channel, both channels really, scooting right up the channel with that northerly flow. And we will see the surge, because this is going to move rather quickly, shouldn't be super intense, but I always monitor a little bit of that. There's going to be that coastal overwash. We're used to that with a system like this. And then you see Edinburgh, you can see some of the gusty winds, a little bit of that, what's that, red shading showing up there. Those would be some gusts of 70 miles per hour. So where the core of this moves in, Scotland in particular, that's where we could get some of the strongest winds. But all of us, just as this continues to work its way over toward the North Sea, those strong winds, big push of winds as we work our way into a Monday. Monday. Now, let's swing, again, location by location, then we'll get into the rain and the wave heights. Here is this area right through here over towards Scotland. This is Monday. So again, it was that same image I just showed you, but expanding out the view. This is Monday, and look across the North Sea. You could see those very, very strong winds, and look at that red showing up. Southern Norway, back through parts of Denmark, right in here. A lot of this, yes, will be over the open waters, but we are looking at 50 to 70 mile per hour winds or 80 to 100 kilometer winds. The gust right in through here. This big fetch of winds just creeping in. And then as we work our way, this is Tuesday morning, very early Tuesday morning. Through the day on Tuesday, we'll notice those stronger winds, Germany, Poland, even Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and then Finland, that rush right in through here with those strong winds lifting up to the north. The center of this will be over Sweden. Backside of this, very sprawly with those gusty winds that will be with us. This is on Tuesday, so some heavier weather. Again, all of this with that rain mixed in. Some could get a couple rumbles of thunder, more so those downpours, very gusty downpours that will be with us. And still on Wednesday, watching out for some of the stronger winds, even though it is going to be diminishing. And then look at here, watching that next system, keeping an eye on Ireland and Northern Ireland and monitoring Iceland just to see if this kind of pivots up toward Iceland or if it kind of works its way across. That's what we'll be watching. That's system number 2, right? Let's zoom down with some of the rain totals, and then I want to show you the seas and how that evolves day by day. Rain totals, you can see over toward, these are 5-day rain totals. So some of this will include what we get through the day today in some spots, and you can see some of the heavier weather. Scotland in particular looks to be the bullseye with that fetch coming in off the water. Watching Ireland, though, we could have some totals of 75 millimeters of rain. Scotland, though, we're looking more like 100 millimeters of rain in spots. And I mentioned over toward London, for example, even Manchester, rain totals may not be quite as high, but there's that spot in Norway. I mentioned with that fetch coming in off the water for a couple days, that will enhance the chance of rain. We could get some spots pushing 200 millimeters of rain. So I appreciate you sharing this information right in through here. But watching Norway, parts of Sweden for some of the higher rain totals, even over toward Denmark. Not as much Netherlands, Belgium, Germany. Most of it's going to be to the north, but some totals will be over 100 millimeters of some rain. And then this spot in through here, not leaving anyone out. This in through here on our southern zones, watching out for some of those scattered storms. Some of those quite strong, though. Slovenia, for example, Croatia, parts of Italy, Austria will have some spots, 75 to 100 millimeters of rain. Heat builds in as if it hasn't already. Parts of Spain, Portugal, and swinging back toward France. Now, watching out for the wave heights, and you can see here, this is taking us into our Sunday, so that's why I put that S there. I want to put the timing on this for you. Not super fancy. I don't always like to get too fancy. Looking at the wave heights here, everything kind of building as this system starts to work in. 3-4 meters sitting offshore, mainly the action offshore, but you're going to see the seas building, right? As we work our way into our Sunday forecast, offshore waters 4 to 5 meters. And then as we work our way into Sunday night, into Monday, here's Monday, you can see scooting right up through the channels. We're going to see those seas that will be building in. Now, I mentioned the coastal overwash. That's going to be a possibility. Get the seas building. It does depend on your terrain. And you know, you've been through these systems, so just monitoring that if you're along the water. But zooming down, you can see some of these wave heights that we'll be dealing with. Just to give you a look, here's Scotland, Northern Ireland, looking at 6 meters as this builds, and that's close to land, so running at about 5 to 6 meters. That will give us the coastal overwash if you're not in a spot with a higher terrain with some of those cliffs that are around. And then as we work our way deeper into time, as this progresses on Monday, starts to work offshore, Scotland on the flip side, as we work our way toward the North Sea, running at about 5 meters in some locations. All right, let's expand this out even further for us as we go out in time here. And this here, you can see the seas really building in here. This here would be Tuesday, hence my fancy T for you, running at about 3, 4, 5 meters in through here. So Norway, Sweden, watching over toward Denmark, heads up Denmark again. The higher seas, the strong winds that will be moving in, and we'll be watching out for that rain that will be piling up with us. But look at the seas that will be building right in through here, running at about 6 to 6.5 meters. So with that big fetch just coming on down, just across the water, those seas really building as you get on the north side of Germany and over toward the Netherlands, running at about 3 to 4 meters. And this is deeper out in time. Everything progresses here. This is Wednesday, and you can see watching over toward Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania for those seas that will be building. Here we are in Finland over toward Helsinki. Offshore water should be around pushing 4 meters in some spots as we work our way into our Wednesday forecast. So we'll be seeing how this all progresses across. So the timing starting to work into the British Isles Sunday night, sweeping across all the way to Finland through Wednesday. So this is a Northern Europe event, the impacts, the power loss, and again, the tree damage. That's my concern, that you have your vehicle outside, one branch, you know how, I mean, that causes issues. So I don't want to diminish the storm in any way. Please be mindful of that sort of thing. And then we'll be watching that second system that we'll be following. I do want to hit on these storms here. You can see these storms. This is back to today. Here's Czechia, Austria, Slovenia, Croatia, even a couple spotty storms. Watching that over toward Turkey, hit or miss, very hit or miss. Greece, Bulgaria, Kosovo, North Macedonia, for example, and still a few possible. Eastern France and watching over towards Spain, even Andorra, a couple little spotty storms, a possibility. Point being, the next couple of days, if you do get some storms, even running back toward Vatican City and Rome, we could get some heavier storms. If you do get some, they could be on the strong side, watching over toward Ukraine and Russia. Hit or miss storms, you see that in Serbia as we work our way from Sunday into Monday. And then some of this building south, southern Italy. Keep an eye on Greece, Albania, Montenegro. We could get a couple of stronger storms, but all that action, that bigger stuff sitting up to the north. I do want to point out, with these systems that are starting to move in now, it's because the Atlantic is getting more active for the hurricane season. The peak of the hurricane season, we're about to get into it, August, September, and October, and we need to keep an eye on it for it, because later in August it is going to get more active. And with that said, we need to keep an eye on the remnants of these systems that will be moving in. So very active pattern, multiple systems coming. That first one Sunday sweeping into Wednesday, and that second one arriving through midweek. So I appreciate you joining this weather community. Love the comments. Your kindness is awesome. I'll be going through those comments best I can throughout the day. I've got my family around today too, which is always a good thing. Nonetheless, thank you for being part of this weather community. Have a good rest of your day.